Hey there YouTube, AJ here. Last time on the video I plugged the holes in the heads and the block to where I could use 59AB heads, the older style, on my 8BA block, all in anticipation of trying to get this motor running. So today we're going to continue on that path of getting this motor running. We're going to start putting some of the internals back into it. Right now this motor is pretty much a block, a crankshaft, and pistons. It does not have a camshaft or valve assemblies, any of that. The heads are just sitting on there. The distributor is just kind of stuck in here loosely right now. So we got to put all that stuff back together before we can see if this thing will run. So first thing we need to do is start tearing apart, because I got to be able to get to the front of this engine to put the camshaft in it first. So we're going to remove all this stuff, remove the timing cover, and hopefully get a camshaft in this so we can start getting this thing back together. So now we got to take this head back off. It's just barely on there with 2 bolts. But we need to be able to see our number 1 piston, because this should be at top dead center. So when we put our camshaft in, we can align the marks and have everything be correct. Might as well throw some lube in there while I'm at it. In fact, I think I'll take the other head off and do that real quick before I try to turn it, because it has been quite a while since I've tried to turn this motor. So it definitely won't hurt it to have some lube in there. Just got it. Alright, so we're going to put this head loosely back on again so it won't fall, just for safekeeping. We're going to see if we can get this thing to turn. And don't worry, this is not a torque wrench, it's an old torque wrench that broke. So now it's just a breaker bar. Oh yeah, she turns no problem. Okay, number 1 is almost to the top. Is it on the top of compression though? So we got to check that. And since there's no camshaft and valves, we can't look at our valves to determine. I think there's supposed to be a mark on the crank gear. Ah, yeah, I see it. Okay. If you look at that top tooth there, it's kind of hard to see. But right there in this tooth, there's a dot indented into the tooth. So that means we are at top dead center of our compression stroke. Gonna do a little cleanup on this bearing here. Got some spray paint overspray on it, so let's clean that up. And then we can start thinking about getting a cam in here. Fortunately, this bearing had oil and grease on it, so that overspray was just kind of on top of that, so it's coming off pretty easy. Let's stick this head back on here for safekeeping. Don't want it to fall. All right, now I got to go find my camshaft. I'm not sure where it's at, so I'll come back after I've dug that out of wherever I've hidden it. All right, found my camshaft. I've got some assembly grease and assembly lube here. Want to use assembly lube on the camshaft bearings and assembly grease on the lobes of the camshaft. That'll help re-break this camshaft in with this motor. This is not the camshaft that came out of this motor. The camshaft that came out of this motor had a lifter lockup and it flattened one of the lobes. We're going to basically lube up the first half of this, slide it in, and then lube up the second half once we get most of the camshaft in there. I think that'd be the best way to go about this. I have no idea how much, so we're going to use a lot. If a little is good, a lot must be a better, right? And I don't know if it's not the grease, it's the lube. The assembly lube smells like cinnamon. It smells really good. It smells like an atomic fireball. I'll try to remember to put links to this stuff in the video description. Put a nice smear of assembly lube on the bearing surfaces, journals, whatever you want to call them. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching my first camshaft install ever. Hopefully I can get this in here without causing any problems. Whoa. Should be about to find the next journal, or the next bearing. Come on. Oh, there we go. Alright, let's get this second half lubed up. Oh, just dropped a big glob of lube. Got sweat dripping everywhere. It's hot still. Heard we're supposed to get a break in this heat tomorrow. That'd be nice. Alright, that's it for assembly grease for now. Get us some lube on this last journal. Alrighty. Let's see if we can get this camshaft the rest of the way in. Oh, don't do that. Come on now. Oh, there we go. There. Now, we're almost there. Now, there is a gear on the back of this that has to mesh with the gear that drives the oil pump. This does not want to go in, and it doesn't want to turn much. Okay, their turn came out a little bit. Okay, I don't know if it's smart. I'm going to give it some very, very light taps. It is moving. Okay, that's good. There it goes. Okay, it's turning now. Whew. That's a relief. Not sure if it's all the way in or not. I think it is. Yeah. All right, see, now it'll move a lot easier. Oh, there it goes. Ta-da! Just dropped all the way in. Okay, our camshaft is physically in the engine now. Next thing we got to do is get it oriented correctly to the crankshaft and install our timing gear. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. I'm looking on this timing gear here for a mark. If I remember correctly, I think the timing gear can only go on one way. I'm hoping that's the case. And I thought there was a mark on the gear itself. There it is. Okay, I found the gear. I found the mark on the gear right here. I don't know if you can see it, but right there in between these two teeth is a dot. That dot goes over the tooth with the dot on it on the crankshaft gear. So we know how that goes, but now we got to figure out how the camshaft itself needs to be oriented into this. So I'm going to take you offline, look that up, clean this up a bit, and then I'll be back. While I was cleaning all this up, I remembered thinking to myself, I'm all but positive that there was only one way this could go on to the camshaft. I got to cleaning this plate, and if you look at it, it looks like it's concentric, like those holes are laid out, but if you really start to study, you start to notice that they're not quite the same. They're like on a square pattern. And so if you take it and lay it on the cam gear, you'll start to notice that you can line up two holes, but the other two don't line up. And then as you rotate it around, you'll get to a point where eventually all the holes line up. So it can only go on there one way. Now, you can easily do that on here, but since I already put the camshaft in the motor, then when you go to put the gear on there, this camshaft has to be in the correct orientation because the gear needs to mesh with the crank down here. So what I did was I took and oriented this retaining ring correctly on the timing gear, and I drew a line pointing to the timing mark on the gear itself. So now I know I need to put this onto the retaining ring on the camshaft, and then orient the camshaft to where this mark on the retaining ring is pointing straight down to our timing mark on the crankshaft. Then hopefully we can get the gear to slip on in the correct position. Put our retaining ring onto our camshaft and see if we can line up the holes. Okay, I think that's it. So let's start the bolts in here. Okay, got all 4 bolts in there, and our timing mark is right now over here. So we need to point that straight down. Okay, now we want to leave that there. Take the bolts out, retaining ring out, without moving our camshaft, and hopefully get our timing gear put on there in the correct orientation. Find our timing mark right there, and let's see if we can get this in. Nope, we're 1 tooth off. Now if you look down here, we have a timing mark in the crankshaft gear and a timing mark in the timing gear, and our bolt holes should all be lined up. So we should be able to bolt this on now. Start by putting our retainer. Okay. Align our mark to point straight down at the timing marks, and we should be able to start all our bolts. Come on. Apparently I need a little help getting our cam gear and our camshaft aligned. Well, I got 2 out of the 4 started really well. There goes the 3rd one. All right, now we just need to tighten those down to 20 foot-pounds. Yeah. All right, everything is torqued to 20. Now we have to tighten down or bend up our flaps on our retainer so those bolts won't turn. Need to get a screwdriver for that. Oh, that one broke off, so that one's a goner. Can't tell if that fell into the oil pan or not. So we're only going to have one on that one. All right. So our timing gear is ready to go. I'm going to keep that cover off for now. I'm not going to put it back on yet. Right now I'm going to go ahead and start loading in the lifters and the valves and getting those in the motor. Now we need to open up the top of this thing and start putting in our lifters. Now, there we go. I'm looking down into my lifter bores. I got to get those cleaned out first. Might need to clean this valley out some too. For some reason I was thinking I'd already cleaned this. It's just got sludge build up. Not horrible, but not great either. And it's just got some sludge build up in it. There's some grimy stuff down in there. I think what we're going to do is spray some cleaner down in there and let it soak for a little bit. Since the oil pan is on this thing, it's just going to all run down into the oil pan. And I got to take the oil pan off later to put the oil pump on it. So yeah, might as well just see if we can get some of this cleaned out. That's what I thought. This thing's already empty. Alright, go. I'm going to keep cleaning this for a little bit. and get some gunk out of it. There's not a lot, but there's some stuff in there I want to make sure I get out. So I'll be back after I get this done. It's going to take a while just tediously picking it out of there. I got it cleaned up pretty good now. I'm happy with it. However, while I was spraying all that carb cleaner down through my lifter bores, I came to the realization that I should have done that before I put in the camshaft. Because there's a really good chance that I just cleaned all the lube I put on my camshaft off by spraying that stuff down through the lifter bores, because that's going to hit right on the camshaft lubes. So I'm going to pull the camshaft back out, wipe it down, and re-lube it up. Just better safe than sorry, I think. Don't want to wipe out my camshaft right away. Oh well. Alright, well, the camshaft has been out clean, re-lubed, and back in. Honestly, I think it would have been okay. You could tell that the lube on the cam lobes had been diluted, but I think it would have been okay. It wasn't like washed completely off there at all. But better safe than sorry, it's done. Now let's get these heads off, and let's start putting our lifters in. Back when I took the motor apart, I 3D printed this organizer. You can see it's for lifters, exhaust, intake, exhaust, and then on this side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So basically that just helped me keep everything in order. Now theoretically this part should be pretty simple. The idea is we take out our lifters, put them in the appropriate bore. This one is number 1 exhaust. I'm going to just give them a quick wipe, lube the bottom, the top, a little bit on the sides. Yeah, so this is exhaust out here. So we're going to drop some assembly lube in the bore, and it should drop right in, but I'm either not lining up correctly or something. Why? I don't feel any ridges or anything. What's going on here? For crying out loud. Alright, we're going to skip that one, go to the intake, see if it's any better. What the heck? Okay, I panicked a little early. I was able to get the driver's side all in. However, I needed both hands and I need to work from the opposite side of the engine. So I'm going to try to show you how I did it, but I don't know how well because my hands are going to be in the way. So we start by putting our glob on the bottom of the lifter, on the sides. Now I take it and put it in like this. Use both hands to get it lined up and apply a little bit of pressure on the top and wiggle it, and I'm getting them to drop in that way. Come on. This one's fighting a little bit. There it goes. Alright. And then I just put a glob of grease, of assembly grease on top of each one after I'm done. So let's lube Here, let's see if we can get you a better view. All right, so it's going to go in like that, in here. There we go. Dropped it. There we go, last one. All right, dollop them up. And now we have all of our lifters in. Next up is assembling the springs. Okay, so each of our valve assemblies is comprised of a bunch of parts. We have the valve itself, we have a valve guide, and on this one has an extra groove up here, and that's for this seal, and that's because this is an intake valve. The exhaust valves don't have this groove. Put the seal around. So we put our seal around it like that, in that groove. I'm going to take a little bit of assembly lube, put it on my valve stem, like so, and insert our valve into our valve guide. Next we have our spring, the valve spring. These actually matter which way they go. The end that has more coils closer together, that'd be this end here, that goes towards the valve head. After that, we have this little top hat. And you can see it's kind of shaped like a hat. It's got a hole in it. That goes over the valve stem into the spring. Then we have our first keeper. I don't know if this is actually called a keeper, called a retainer, whatever. Anyway, you can see it is conical, wider at one end. That goes in there. Next, we have these two little keepers. And you can see they're split, but if you put them together, they form another conical section. And we have to compress this spring to be able to put these inside of this retainer, and then they snap together around the head of the stem, and that's what holds the whole valve stem assembly together. So to compress these, I made a tool, and essentially it's a piece of tubing that goes over the stem but not over the top hat, and it's got a little window in here that I cut into it so I can insert the keepers. Now I was planning on using this in my arbor press, but back to my weight limitations again. I can't move stuff around to get my arbor press out, so I had to come up with a different way. So I made this tool, just took a chunk of wood, put it over top of it, and this is the chunk of wood is simply to help me compress it without hurting myself. So we're going to put that on there, compress it down, slide in one of the keepers, hopefully. Okay, and we can see now how it's on one side. Now the fun part. Sometimes these go together really simple, sometimes they fight you for a half hour. Anyway, we're going to do it again, and ideally we're going to slide this other keeper in, let it up, and that was an easy one. And now you can see how the two keepers are smushed together from the inside cone on this piece, this retainer, and then they catch on the head of the valve stem, and it can then all hold this together. Now the last thing about the valves, the original valve had Ford logos on the intakes. Now the intake valves are different from the exhaust valves. Not in terms of size or anything, but in terms of the heat they can handle. So you don't want to put one of these on your exhaust port. However, if you have to, you can use an exhaust valve in place of an intake. I don't know the advantages, disadvantages. This motor is not high performance at all. As long as it runs and doesn't leak too much fluid, I'm okay with it. So that's all we're trying to get done with this motor, is get it running and not leak too bad. Anyway, So this valve's ready to go into the motor. Before we do that, we're going to take a dollop of our assembly grease, put it on the end of the head where that rides on the lifter. We only have to do that 17 more times because there's 2 valves, 1 intake, 1 exhaust per cylinder. But once it's assembled to this point, we can go ahead and stick it into the valve bore. Like so. Now, you notice I've already got the other ones done and in, and you can see how this one is open. That's because the motor is still on number 1 cylinder, being top dead center. So both of those valves over there are closed. But this valve, I don't know what stroke this is on. This would be an intake port. So this is on its intake stroke. It is sucking, it would be sucking fuel and air mixture into the chamber. And if we look over here on the passenger side, we can see where that number 1 cylinder top dead center is indeed closed. Now, we could rotate the engine and all these valves should pop up, but they're not going to return because we have one more thing to do before the valve train is ready to work the way it's supposed to with the rotation of the motor. And that is, we have to go inside through the valve, through the lifter valley, or intake valley, whatever you want to call it, and we have to take these keepers and we have to pry down the spring and slide this through onto the slot, onto the valve guide, and that's going to hold the assembly in place so the valve can go up and down without moving the valve guides. So that's next. Okay, what I have here is a crow's foot wrench, and the idea is we're going to try to get in here and get in the bottom groove of the valve guide, and then lever the valve guide down so we can slip this keeper into the keeper groove and hold it in place. Well, keeper groove is exposed like so. That one is done. Nice and easy. Let's hope they all go that easy. Cylinder number 1. This will be the intake valve. There we go. All right. Only, I don't know, how many more to go? Lots. But we'll keep pushing through. Okay, I have all the keepers put in except for 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you notice, they're laying on a valve that's correspondingly open, which means the lifter is pushed up, and that's as far closed as I can get it. And I didn't want to fight with it, so I waited to do those. I'm going to rotate the motor now, and then we can hopefully push these in, get them put in. So that one's going down, that one's down, that one's down. Okay, these 2 are up. So now I can go ahead and install those 2. Okay, we got those 2 in. Now we got to rotate our motor again until we can close these valves like so. Now we go on the other side and get those installed. Okay, I don't know how well you can see in there, but we got all our clips on both. So now when we rotate our motor, we should be able to see every valve open and close. All right, cylinder 5's good, cylinder 1's good, cylinder 2's good, 3, come on 3, where's the other side? Hang on, let's go around. There it goes, there goes 3, all right, or not 3, this is 5, 6, that was 6, this one's 3. That was compression on 3, I hope. Yep, 3's working, 7's working. 8 and 4 intake. Exhaust on 8, exhaust on 4. Alright, the motor is now fully functional from a cam, valve train, timing gear standpoint. Pistons all working, crankshaft working, all that's working. So now it's time to start doing some cleaning and putting the heads and intake back on this thing. So we won't be trying to start this up for a while yet. Like I said, got to get the heads on it, intake on it. We're not going to be using this intake because we got dual carbs on this, and I do not have 2 rebuilt carbs ready to go. I think what I'm going to do is throw on the old original single intake and pick my best carb that I have that's not rebuilt and just see what we can do with that. Just that for now, that's the easiest way. I don't feel like I need to even, I think it's more important to get it running and proving it runs before we try to get a 2-barrel system working on it. So we're gonna just shelf all this for a little bit while we work on this motor. I gotta coat my headers. I've got to take the oil pan back off, put an oil pump in this, and then put the pan back on and figure out a distributor, get the cover and seals on that. We're not going to worry about water pumps because we're not going to be running it long enough to really need it to have cooling. So we're just going to try to prove it's got life, see if it sounds good, maybe run a compression check on it once we get it sealed up, that kind of thing. So all that's going to have to wait. It's going to be a few videos before we get to where we start this thing, but we're going to get there. Anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate the likes, comments, subscribes, especially. All that helps the channel a lot. Anything you can do, I appreciate it. Yeah, next time we're probably going to work on sealing up the top part, maybe getting into the bottom and getting an oil pump on it. I don't know how far we'll get. So till then, YouTube, later.